And welcome back to the Part-Time Otaku Podcast. My name is Grant.
My name is Dave.
If it's your first time checking out, we are a anime-only podcast. This season we've been covering My Hero Academia, specifically Season 5. Dave, we have finally come to a close to this arc.
Yeah. What an interesting first 13 episodes of Season 5. It's been a weird one.
It's so funny, like, a friend, we were talking with a friend of ours this weekend, you and I, and it was just the only sentence about it was the pacing's off. And that's just what we've been talking about, and but this episode specifically is weirdly my favorite of the season so far, probably just because I'm so not sour on everything before, but it was just this was the true palate cleanser. I think we had kind of talked about that last week as being a bit of a palate cleanser, but I think this is the true, like, hey, like, they're setting up some stuff that we've been hungry for, and this and that.
Yeah, last week feels like almost like a weird transitional, almost fillery kind of episode.
In retrospect, yeah.
This episode has pieces of that, but it also has a theme because, surprise, it's a Christmas episode.
That was totally... Anyway, we're getting too thick in the weeds. Before we get right into it, we want to give a shout out to at Salted Beef on Twitter for our Deku thumbnail this week. Again, unreal stuff. Thank you so much for letting us showcase your art here.
We love Deku and we love beef.
Yeah, beef.
That's all
like beef.
Where's the beef?
Where's the beef? All right, so we'll jump right into the synopsis. So it's Christmas at UA, and the Class 1A students celebrate with a Christmas party while discussing their upcoming work studies.
Boom.
Dave, I don't think I've laughed in a My Hero episode as I have this much. Before. This was, like, genuine. Like, all the jokes hit.
Yeah, they had a lot of good jokes. They had a lot of good moments. And, yeah, you can appreciate these characters and how they can kind of work off of each other.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the cold open.
Yes.
Shigaraki looks cool.
Yeah, he looks like All Might. I've noticed this too, because they did this with Endeavor at the beginning of the season when they showed, like, that recap of when he goes plus ultra on the Nomu up in the sky with Hawks, that fight, and just kind of like the way the fire
last season.
Yeah, so when the fire covers him, and it just, like, the way it shows the detail of his face, and Shigaraki too. I wonder if it's just, like, the artist's style whenever they're showing, like, a really, like a big Sakuga moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But yeah, no, Shigaraki, we have long needed him to make an appearance.
Oh my god, yeah. He's been gone doing who knows what, but that was a really cool entrance. He looked, like, legit scary. He didn't have the hands.
Yeah.
He was kind of bloodied up. He was drawn differently, like you said. He also looked, like, a little bit older.
Yeah. More gaunt. I guess because we really see his face, right?
Yeah, but
not completely, but
when's the last time we saw him? Is it when he, like, dismantled Overlord in the street?
Overhaul. Yeah, when they snatched up Overhaul.
Yeah.
I think No, it's not. He doesn't show up in the ambulance, I don't think. But there's definitely a conversation he had. It's when he's, like, bartering with Overhaul about the serum, and how I think he's trying to get it from them, saying how it's better suited to them.
Yeah, but remember, doesn't he destroy Overhaul's arms in the street?
Was he there for that scene, or was someone else there for that?
Yeah, no, it was him, because he disintegrated the guy's arms. That's his quirk, isn't it?
Yeah. No,
decomposition or something.
I'm just trying to recall that. Yeah, because I guess he was there.
Overhaul's
in the
being
ambulance on the highway
in an ambulance, and I'm pretty sure it's
by one hero.
Yeah,
yeah, by one hero.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's been a while since we've seen him. He had a really cool return. I was hoping we'd see more of him throughout this episode, but this is a decent sort of tease because it does kind of set up this whole Deka City explosion, and that's a bit of a theme throughout the rest of the episode.
Yeah, they breadcrumb through the rest of the episode, like, all coming back to what we first see here.
Yeah.
So I really like that. It's a good way to set up what's to come, like, this is, it's just like a little softball, like they didn't get us too hyped, because that would have been unbearable, because it was like the Dobby stuff, the earlier the season, like we see those, like, they set
Dobby
that up.
And the Hawks stuff. What are we doing?
Like, it just left us salivating. This kind of sets the expectation a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
we know something's coming, but it's not like, oh, like, we don't need it right now. So but yeah, no, good to have Shigaraki back.
And then we got Bakugo and Shoto doing a TV interview.
Fucking hilarious.
That whole scene was pretty good. I didn't know I needed that kind of a scene between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I always knew that, like, Shoto's voice actor, and just even, like, the way he's written, is, like, written, like, so straight and just sort of, like, so...
Deadpan.
Yeah, until this episode, I don't know if it made me laugh before.
Well...
You know what I mean? But they really utilized that this episode. And
they also really lean into, like, his... like, not cluelessness, but just how, like... he's just like, he's so straight as an arrow. You know what I mean? Like, and like, there's moments later in the episode, but just like his delivery, and it's like, oh, have we just been missing this? Like, has this been there the whole time? I thought he was just quiet, Yeah. And this scene sets up, like he's kind of a little stunted a little bit. Not stunted, but you know what I mean? Like socially awkward.
Which is funny because when you say socially awkward, you think of Bakugo.
Yeah.
And, like, you just put the two of them together.
It's all on the same spectrum.
Yeah. Just different ends.
Yeah.
But definitely still on the spectrum. The classmates are all laughing about the interview.
When it cuts to them, like, everyone watching the interview and the laughter, that was the perfect way to transition from one to the other.
But, the newscaster was giving them some props. Like, because, they're referencing, obviously, that, like, action-packed scene of the two of them saving people like 30 minutes after they got their provisional licenses. So, they got some coverage.
People know that now, because that's like the whole, it's going to sound bad, but like there's like a weird messaging of propaganda in this episode. And the show uses that a lot. They cut to like, this is kind of not really cutting ahead, but they've always used like TV shots of like, news reports and stuff like that, and people in the crowds and all that. And you can, like, just like the hero society and how, like, like the ranking systems and the media, and they hit a lot of that this episode, and I was kind of surprised how potent some of the messaging was. And this was like a good start to set that up, like kind of how Shigaraki and what he did at the beginning is setting up stuff to come. They're also on the villain side, they're also setting it up on the hero side as well with this interview. And then they just, it just keeps coming and coming throughout the episode. So this is like a surprise, even though it's like funny and Bakugo is being used like perfection. Like they're really setting up some stuff in this episode.
They also, the newscaster covers the Deka City attack. Mm-hmm. And then, I think like a part of what you're alluding to here is like there's this weird moment that was like kind of back and forth for me, just about the public opinion about what heroes are doing right now and how they're doing everything they can, but crime rates are still kind of rising, and how things are just sort of like a bit of a seesaw at the moment. It seems like that. Yeah. I went through that moment a couple times, and I was like, I don't really know what they're trying to say here. It just felt kind of weird. I don't know. But then
this is where I'm getting stain vibes. Like this is like not a new thing. We talked about this season as well.
Yeah.
This whole like the just like the public discourse about the heroes and like how they're, they go about their daily lives and all, and how like they interact with like people and all that, like, and Stain being the end of like, no, like the heroes have been put on a pedestal and like they've taken that to a new level. And like that's always been around, like that's the lasting, the stain, the stain of Stain, like it's not going away. This is the weird, like the political stuff in the show that I really like it's not so over the top, but it's still very well grounded and realistic. But I do get the flip-flopping you're getting at, because I feel like earlier in the season they mentioned how like they feel like the hero should be doing more, and then now they're saying they're doing everything they can, but like like it's not enough. Like we need more help. So it's weird. Like it's like I said, that's where I'm getting the propaganda vibe. Like where they're just trying to keep like the public at large kind of at bay. Like no, we got it covered. We got heroes. All this and that. Yeah. So it's interesting stuff to come.
Anyway, so we go back to school, and Mount Lady and Midnight show up for a remarkably cringy entrance.
It It was so funny that happened. Leanna was watching with me, and she goes like, "Is that the same person? Like, how like no, that's two people." She's like,
Grant's like, I know every inch of their bodies. That's two very different ladies. It's shit like that. Like people hear me talk like about anime and how great it is at telling stories, and these are just like the scenes that are on TV when people walk in.
Yeah, this is when your dad walks into the room and he's like, "What's wrong with you, boy?"
It's like, really great storytelling. You can see.
Is that a cartoon?
It's one of them cartoons you're talking about on the phone, on your internet phone calls. I made my dad Southern. Anyway, so they're there to be guest lecturers for the day, and as it turns out, they're there to help with like media training, which is like right on par with like where this episode starts. And yeah, there's lots of funny moments throughout here. Shoto completely bombs his interview. That's like what I was saying at the beginning and what you said, the deadpan stuff.
Yeah.
What is, I think it's Midnight says like, if I ran into a boy like you, it'd make my heart skip a beat. He's like, do you have heart problems?
And then you're going to slay all the ladies. He goes, my smile will kill them. That's the one that got me.
Yeah,
oh, God. And then, like, just him, like, walking off. He goes, yes, I have, like, 2 abilities. And just, like, and you kind of just see, like, not the cringiness of it, but, like, just, like, his own little world that he lives in of him, like, walking off going, yes, I have the more passive power, or controlling or defensive power. And then I have my more aggressive one. It's, like, it was what's, I'm blanking on his name. Is it Tokoyami? The dark the bird dude.
Yeah 100%.
Like how edgy he can be and Todoroki has little elements of that, so it's good stuff. Like I said, when like they went for comedy this episode and like it all landed, it's good stuff.
Which is really hard because we've talked a lot about how easy it is to miss, especially in anime. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, like I was really pleasantly surprised with that whole scene. After Shoto, is it more or less?
It kind of just goes through the class.
Yeah, I was just trying to think if there are any major standouts because everybody kind of goes out, says like their slogan and their their hero name. Mm-hmm. Deku gets or Midoriya becomes terrified. So yeah, that was pretty good.
We get the Bakugo stuff, which leads to like just like and you brought up a really good point a week or two ago about how they can just abandon storylines and they can just grab them at any time and bring them back. Yeah. I had forgotten about the Best Jeanist stuff and how he had gone missing. And then, that sets up Bakugo, and that's clearly either going to be by the end of this season, he's going to have a name, or, or something along those lines. There's going to be a mission to save Best Jeanist or what have you. But
so that happens a little bit later, but while we're on that, isn't Best Jeanist dead? Wasn't he killed violently by All For One?
But I don't...
Like, do you remember that? Like
I vaguely remember. I can't remember if he was, and then he was also, like, taken away with them.
He had, like, a giant hole in his chest. Like,
yeah.
I mean, but then again, like, in this episode, as they're talking about what you were just mentioning, they say missing. I was like, what do you mean missing? You mean, like, you're missing how he used to be alive? Because he had a fucking hole punched through him? I don't know.
But no, it kind of cuts to, like, Bakugo looking at a news report of him missing.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines.
So, yeah, just on that scene, it comes up later, but, like, I did really love the flashback because all of Bakugo's proposed hero names had murder in them.
Yeah.
King Murder Explosion.
I just love he's just, like, combing his hair. He's just trying to make him look well kept. But, and also Mineta has, like, a random throwaway line in this whole kind of, I forget where it's placed, but he's just being like creepy because I think he like loves Mountain Lady. They've set that up a few times in the series.
Yeah.
But he just like it's just this random throwaway line of like, this hero here, all she's ever cared about is her image, and here she is like showing us like, and this is where like not the I guess kind of the propaganda thing, but just like they're pointing out that like heroes have to like not be showy anymore. Like it's like it is on, like there is some stuff going on that like, and that's how they're setting up, kind of tying back into the Shigaraki stuff, with like kind of like, it's, you got to really think about it, but it's, I don't know, and Mineta is really good for like random throwaway lines like that. It's like,
yeah, he is. Yeah. You can just kind of throw something at him when you need a piece of exposition or like a random note to throw it into a scene.
Yeah.
So in this was a bit of a clumsy scene, IMO, but so Deku's getting interviewed, Midoriya's getting interviewed. He does his like thing where he starts rambling. Midnight is like, "You're weird." But then he has this internal monologue, and everybody's like wondering aloud about his new quirk and whether or not he can control it. So like they've kind of just gone back and forth on this whole thing. We've talked about it, but it's clear that the show wants to address it, right? Like they want the audience to be on the same page as Midoriya. And that page is that like he may have overcompensated and called it too early, and he thinks he might be able to control Black Whip slowly, like, you know, just like he's built up sort of a tolerance or an ability to control his original quirk. He thinks he'll be able to do that with Black Whip as well. So there's this like really long scene about him thinking about that and rationalizing that, and then like testing it, and he gets this tiny wisp. And it was like, all right.
But like, you know, at least they're not like retconning the ability off the bat. You know what I mean? Or not retconning, but like completely putting it away in the vault for like a season or two. Like it shows that he's going to be working into it, which, you know, of the pills to swallow, I think that's the easiest one. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah, it's just weird. The back and forth is what was weird. You know what I mean? Like it feels like we could have done that in like 2 lines of dialogue, like when it happened. They'd be like, "Oh, that was crazy. You can't control it. I should work at that."
Yeah.
Fucking done.
But I did think the stuff that worked in the scene was like him being awkward, and like I like how they changed up
100%.
his visual style. Like, you know, that did work, and like kind of like the back and forth between Midnight and Mountain Lady and him and all that.
That shit always works.
Yeah, it's good. It's great. Like, you know, like I still like the mutter at the top of the screen. It's like as if we don't know. You know,
I love it when anime does that. I don't know what you would call that, but I've been seeing it more and more lately. Lately. Then the next big thing happens, and that's when the principal calls All Might. And they announce that the work studies are coming back.
Oh, he goes to visit him, and it's All Might making notes for Midoriya.
Yes.
Do you think they're setting up All Might's death?
No.
No? You don't think so?
I mean,
because he had like that over-the-top save for that woman. It shows that like he had some like hero-y spirit in him, like he could do it again. You know, I have been thinking about this.
I mean, so I won't say like 100% no.
Yeah.
I don't feel it right now. I would say, I'll say that like that would be good though. Like that would be welcome. You know, I'm trying to think, you know, that really big confrontation between All Might and One for All or All for One was, you know, a couple seasons back. Midoriya's grown since then. All Might remains a really good mentor, but is like in terms of like the utility and knowledge of the quirk is beginning to become less useful. It might be like a really big transformative moment if you kill him for the show and for Midoriya.
Because there's that. Because they're also setting up like Shigaraki is back, and he's obviously at like this new power level of some sort. We don't know. Again, it's vague.
We've gone through some changes.
And All Might does have a lot of guilt over like not knowing about Shigaraki and his relation to his master and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and like I said, like just like him saving that woman last episode, and like he's, you know, him kind of coming to terms with the fact that there's just so much he doesn't know, and there's not a lot he can like, you know, like you said, like there's not much more he can help with One for All for Midoriya, you know. So I wonder if like he's gonna have this moment of like trying to save Shigaraki, you know, and it like backfires, or you know, it's like,
right,
you know, it could be like Obi-Wan on the Death Star, right? And like, you know, he dies to give like, you know, Luke the power, and you know
I mean, yeah, I think there's,
you know what I mean, like
you could give him a really good death.
They would have to. Right? That would be it would be unforgivable if they just kind of cheaped that one out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they've put him in so much danger in the past, and the character comes from such a really fun place. Yeah. So yeah, I have to imagine that they would serve him right. But you know, it'd also be cool to see him not die. But
I'm not saying I want him to die.
No,
you know what I mean? Like I'm just getting something that's coming up with All Might. I don't know what it is. Like my spidey sense.
Yeah, I think he needs a little something.
Yeah.
So then, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, he tells All Might about the work studies, but then we go back to the dorms because it's Christmas, And heroes in Japan celebrate Christmas specifically.
Yeah,
I love, like, there are a lot of bits in here and like gags all over the place.
Oh yeah.
Sort of interspersed with that, in the just this whole thing, like the Bakugo thing. Who is it? Is it Pinky trying to get him to put on like appropriate garb?
Yeah.
They also, this is when they find out about the work studies. Mm-hmm. And everybody's kind of going through like where they're gonna go. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize Midoriya wouldn't go back to Gran Torino. I just sort of assumed he would.
Well, I think he couldn't go back to Gran Torino because he was busy doing, like, he was working with the police. Like, he flat out told Midoriya a season or two ago, like, no, like, I'm not taking you.
Oh, right, okay.
So that's why he had to figure it out. And then I think through Mirio was like, hey, why don't you like come join Night Eye or try to get into Night Eye. I think that's how that went. This
is also where we have the Bakugo thing with Genius.
I was gonna say, but I feel like they did set this up earlier about his name. They asked him about his name, and then he flashes back to Best Genius. So I think maybe that's what I was thinking of during like the Midnight and Mountain Lady stuff.
Yeah. So, Bakugo can't go back there. And then Eri shows up. Mm-hmm. That was cool. I'm still waiting for Lemillion to come back with like quirks and all. Like, I just want one day.
I don't even need him with quirks. I just need Muriel. He's so funny.
Man, I saw like a replay of that scene recently of him kicking ass right before he loses his powers.
Yeah.
I was like, oh god, look how they messing with my boy.
Yeah, one of the greats. Like,
that was so good. No real progress with Eri. Other than her horn seems to have grown a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the obvious theory there is like maybe she like stores energy, like how big the horn is, maybe be representative of what she's able to do. Mm-hmm. Because like it was bigger, and then she like went all out when she fought Overhaul with Midoriya, and then it shrunk, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe there's something there, but other than that, there's no real progress as far as she goes. But like they have a pretty funny and wholesome, I might add, gag of her messing up all the holidays.
Yeah, trick or treat.
Yeah, she trick or treats. She has painted eggs at one point.
I love the gags of like of Froppy and Uraka like. Like Uraka like slides in like kawaii, like just hammers through the floor when Eri first shows up, and they're all fawning over this cute little kid. It's so funny.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then they open gifts, and there's a musical montage, and then there's credits.
And then we get to the juice right at the end.
Imagine one of us missed the after credit scene. What do you mean we get to the juice?
Because and you and I were talking about this before we were recording. Like, we genuinely thought like there's gonna be like 3-4 weeks until like the second part of the season. So I was like, fuck it, let's watch. There's got to be a post scene. Like, there's no preview. There's got to be something. And obviously we'll be back next week there. But did you see this coming?
No. No. I like, and I don't mean this in a bad way. It's just like, it's kind of obvious, and it's what I wanted. You know what I mean? Like, I love those characters. I love them together. And I was like, nah, we've separated them for so friggin' long. They're probably all going to go do their own thing again.
Yeah.
What we're alluring to is like Shoto shows up in the post-credit scene. He's like, hey, if you guys can't figure out placements for your work studies, do you want to come to the #1 Heroes Agency?
Yeah, boy.
And hang out with my dad, Endeavor? Fucking badass. So yeah, it looks like that's what's going to happen. I also think I saw something about like how this could potentially lead into a movie they've announced. Like,
because they have set up is it the World Mission or something like that?
And it's the 3 of them on the poster.
But I don't know if that's canon.
No, I don't know if it's canon either, but my guess is like they're going to smush a movie in between like some episodes of them hanging out with Endeavor. Does that make sense?
Oh, I see.
And like it won't
be
canon, but like that's where it would be in the timeline, if that makes sense.
I caught a synopsis of what that movie's about, and I didn't expect it. I'll tell you that.
Spoiler alert. Tell me what it is.
So Midoriya, spoiler alert, everyone. Midoriya is set up for something, and he's on the run.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. At least I'm sure like that'll be like a third of it, and then it's gonna, everything's gonna be good at the halfway mark, and then they're all together like stopping the villain. But they've released some villain, some screenshots of the villain from the movie and all that too, and it looks pretty interesting. I don't know.
Have you seen any of the My Hero movies?
I started one of them. I think they go to China?
Yeah.
Is it the first one? Two Heroes?
Yeah, Two Heroes. I saw that one.
I fell asleep in the first 30 minutes, but like
it was okay.
From what I saw visually, I was like, wow, like can you imagine if every episode looked like this?
I saw the other one. I can't remember what it was called.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't. I don't know.
But also, Jesus, yeah, animation, dude. Crazy, crazy beautiful. If you guys are like, just want more action out of My Hero Academia, and you don't really care about it being canon, check those out. They're on Netflix. I think they're on Crunchy too.
Oh, are they really? I didn't know.
Yeah, but they're very good. Like, I mean, from an animations perspective, they're worth a watch, no doubt.
So back to the Endeavor stuff. I'm excited because I think Bakugo is going to learn some restraint, and I think Midoriya is going to learn a little bit of aggression.
Ooh, that's an interesting take. Yeah, Endeavor kind of great for that. It sounds. Yeah. And now that you're saying it that way, I feel like, yeah, they could probably both stand to learn, and he's probably a decent mentor if he can keep. We know he's working on that kind of thing right now.
Yeah, just to see the dynamic with him, like these three kids, like they're.
Yeah, how's he gonna handle that?
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot. Like him trying. I've been thinking from the get go, I was like, well, Bakugo clearly needs to become the next Endeavor, and they've kind of set that up. How he's going to be the number 2 to Midoriya's 1. Mm-hmm. There's the parallels between All Might and Endeavor, and then Midoriya and Bakugo. Yeah. Like it's clear as day. So this is kind of like coming to that. But it's yeah, I'm excited. Like like in summation, like we've had some heavy thoughts on this part of the season, but I think for the first time this season, I'm excited for what's to come. Like it was just, it's not that the season was by the numbers because we haven't really seen this. There's definitely, we should put some time aside and kind of talk about this season together at a later date. Maybe at least when we get a couple episodes into the next arc, but that's the thing about the show. Even when you're not hot on it, like when it hits, it's like it's a shining bright star, man. Like there's a reason people love the show. There's a reason we love this show.
Yeah, it's easy to remember. Anytime they really like put some gasoline on it, you're like, oh, okay, I remember. This is why people love this show. Yeah, I mean, a different kind of approach to a different arc in the beginning of season 5, but it really doesn't take long to remember why you love it. Like the after credits of this episode. Yeah. Everybody that watches this show, like, try and tell me that, like, if you're a fan of the show, then you're not excited to watch these 3 characters go to Endeavor and see how that all pans out. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? How are these people going to mesh? What kind of shit are they going to get into? I'm excited to see that, and we'll be back next week because it looks like there's no break, at least between these 2 episodes. So we'll see what they do there.
Right on.
Okay, I think that's pretty much it, eh, Grant?
I think so.
Okay, guys, thank you for listening. If if you're a first time listener, check us out on all the social media things. Support us on social media, however you like. Do the follow, like, subscribe, etc., etc. And we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Bye, guys.